It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money show, and we are delighted you're joining us this weekend. It's getting down to it. I mean, this is sort of the heart and the heat of the holiday season. So if you need a little company as you are maybe surfing the web trying to buy stuff, maybe you just want to listen to us in the car, maybe you just want to go back and listen to all the stuff you missed in the last few weeks, whatever it is, all you need to know is we are here for you. We kind of want to be your financial coach, a little bit of the, I was going to say cheerleader, but it's really coach, because a coach will give you the best way for you to execute a game plan, will help you develop the plan. And we really like to do that. So when I say we, I'm talking about me, Jill Schlesinger. I'm a certified financial planner, and my day job is I'm the CBS News business analyst. And the other part of the we is Mark Talercio, who is the executive producer of this show, but also kind of like the executive producer of my life. He is also a certified financial planner. And the reason why that is very important to both of us is that it allows us to take a big picture look at so many of the issues that are going on in your lives. And, you know, with that kind of, I would say sort of that vision, what we try to do is we listen to the question that you pose and we try to help you make the next best financial decision for you, or at least give you an outline or a priority, or maybe just a quickie game plan, or maybe, I don't know, like an action item or 2 or 3, whatever is necessary to help you get where you want to go. So here's what you have to remember. The repository for everything Jill on Money is our website, jillonmoney.com. And while you're there, there's a number of different things that I want you to think about. Number one is if you want to ask a question, click on the contact button, ask us the question, be detailed, and try to put in maybe more than you think we need. I just like a little color commentary sometimes. If you'd like to join us on the air live, then we can arrange that. Mark does all the work, and we love to have you on the air with us. It's just much more fun. But we also have other things that are going on the website. We have a free weekly newsletter, which Mark creates every single Friday, and we would love for you to sign up for that. And we have all this other content. TV appearances, columns that I've written, blog posts, even buy my book. What the heck? Maybe that's a fun and quick holiday present. Okay, but first off, we are taking your questions. We are talking to Dawn from Maryland. Dawn, what's going on? What can we do for you?
So, well, first I want to thank you and Mark, because I think you guys do an incredible public service in helping build people's financial literacy, because it's just not something that's done, for in school. So thank you guys. I've learned so much from you guys over the years.
Oh, well, thank you. Oh, Mark says that public service sounds like a nonprofit. He now is demanding a pension. Let me see if I can get us into some sort of union that would do that. Dawn, continue. Thank you for those lovely words. We appreciate it, really.
So, Jill, I turned 50 this year.
Oh, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome to the FU 50s. It's a great place to be. You don't care what anyone thinks.
That is very true. It's kind of amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a single mom, but my son is grown and he's on his own and he gets very minimal support from me. Mm-hmm. I finished paying off his college education. And
good for you.
Yeah, it's exciting. And now I really want to plan for my own retirement.
Okay.
I don't plan to retire until like 70 at the earliest, but I have been late to really save for retirement. I've always worked in the nonprofit sector. And so I haven't had like tons of excess income, plus raising a kid as a single mom uses up all your resources.
Absolutely. You're working right now. How much do you earn?
About $185,000 a year.
But you live in a high cost market. So some people will hear this. Oftentimes we'll talk to people and they'll be, oh, you only talk to rich people because maybe if you make $185,000 a year in certain markets, it sounds like a lot of money. But in a lot of high cost markets, whether it's the DC General Metro or the Boston or the Bay Area or New York, sometimes 185 sounds like a lot and it doesn't feel like a lot. So I understand that. In working for this nonprofit, do you have a retirement plan?
I do. I have a 401k and I have a 457B.
Oh, okay. So how much is in each of those plans right now?
I have two 401ks, one at Fidelity, one at Vanguard, total $215,000. And I have about $20,000 in the 457B. I just started putting money in there this year.
How much are you contributing to each of these plans?
So I'm maxing out both the 401k and the 457B. So I'm going to try to put away $50,000 a year at least.
Wow. So you're not a big spender. You're plowing the money that you were spending on the kid now into retirement.
Correct. Yes.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And of course, the best part about turning 50, that extra catch-up contribution.
Exactly. So I'm maxing out. Yep.
Good. Will you be entitled to any pension?
No, there's no pension.
Okay, but you will be entitled to Social Security.
Yes, and I will not pull Social Security till I'm 70, but obviously, the estimated amount is $4,000 per month, and I feel a little cynical about it being $4,000 per month. It might be less.
I don't know. I think it would probably be all right. But anyway, where do you live? Do you have your own home or do you rent?
I do. I own my own place. I have about 15 years left on the loan. It's at 2.5%.
2.5%.
And there's about $185,000 left to pay on it.
What do you think the house is worth?
$320 maybe.
Okay, that's great. What else do you have that's outstanding in terms of debt? You said you paid off the kids' student loans. Do you have any other debt that's outstanding?
I have my student loans that I've
Get out of here.
Been paying off since 2008. What's super exciting, though, is even though I have $78,000 left, paid down from $200,000, I do think that this might be forgiven under the new public service loan forgiveness, the expansion of that under Biden. So fingers crossed.
I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not, because I think you're going to get it also. So that's great.
Yeah.
Remember, scrupulous records is what is the key to all of this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I have a car that'll be paid off in 3 years, but it's at 0.9% interest.
All right. That's not bad.
I probably have $10,000 in credit card debt.
What? Why is there $10,000 in credit card debt?
Because I made this decision that I wanted to power save and get money in my account so that if I had overages, I'd rather I have a very low interest credit card that I'd rather put myself in a little bit of credit card debt and put more money in the 401ks.
Because you have credit card debt, do you have no emergency reserve fund?
I have only like $6,000, but I'm working on that.
I'm like, my heart hurts a little bit right this second because I'm like going to tell you the thing that you don't want to hear, which is I really need that credit card debt paid off, even if it means that you put a little bit less money in the 457 plan. Like, I just don't like that as a habit, and I don't like it out there.
I'll do it.
Okay, we'll get back to Dawn's question in just a minute. Remember, if you would like to come on the air with us, just go to JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we're going to return to our listener, Dawn, in just a second. But maybe you're like Dawn. Maybe you feel like you're a little late to the savings game. Maybe you need to know whether or not you're on track. Or maybe you need more than just a quick conversation with someone on the radio, even if that someone is me. If you are seeking financial help, one really good idea is to check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides financial planning for a whole different host of people. So you could be 40-year-old, married couple, bunch of kids trying to get organized. You can be the 55-year-olds who are sitting on top of a bunch of money and want to make sure you're ready to go for retirement. It doesn't really matter. What matters is that Facet will help you by providing goal-based financial planning, and you'll get your plan conducted by the same person every time, a financial planner who's a certified financial planner, not someone random who comes from a call center, your advisor. There are no wealth or account minimums. Facet meets you where you are. So check out Facet Wealth, facetwealth.com. That is the website. Okay, now let us get back to the matter at hand, and that is that we are talking to Dawn. And if you've missed any part of this, just remember she wants to get a drill down on where things are, okay? So let's get back to our conversation with Dawn. I'm thinking that you max out 401k, all right? And you put in the $26,000 a year. Whatever cash flow you have available, you pay down the credit card and you establish that emergency reserve fund and get it up to the 6 months that you really need. So how much do you think you spend every month?
Probably about $5,500.
I think because you work in a nonprofit, it's not like you're going to get some big bonus, right?
Right, exactly.
Right. And you're going to stay in this house?
Yeah.
No extra payments on the house?
No.
When did you get this 2.5% 15-year note?
I did it about a year ago when everything
there's
was
the problem
so low.
with the cash flow. I see it right there.
Yeah.
It's because of that you did it already. I'm not going to go back and change that. But had you called me a year and a half ago, I would have said, no, do a 30. Only because of this exact situation, which is we need your cash flow not to go into the paying down of the debt. We need the cash flow to go into maintaining your lifestyle, which means no credit card debt. So you're going to pay for the stuff you need and funding the emergency reserve fund. It's done. I don't want to go crazy with it. Maybe what I might do, just in case you did have an emergency, since you really don't have money, I think that I would establish but not draw down a home equity line of credit. And what that would mean is that, you'd go to whoever holds the note of your mortgage and you say, I need a line of credit. I'm thinking about doing some work in my house. It's not really a lie. You may want to do work in your house, but really you can just get a line of credit established. Whatever they'll give you as a line of credit, again, a line is established but not drawn down. You are not allowed to draw this down unless a serious emergency were to arise. You got 320s, 200, maybe let's just pretend. Let's say they go, okay, you can have $75,000 line of credit. Now it's outstanding. It's established, but not drawn down. So that if something horrible happened, you have the line. You have it available. You don't have to draw it down again, but it's there for you. So I would establish a home equity line of credit. Don't draw it down. Number 2, all free cash flow goes to paying down credit card debt and funding your emergency reserve fund. And once those things are paid off, once the credit card's paid off, the emergency fund then you can slowly start to put money into the 457 again. Not immediately. You don't have to do it in one fell swoop.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Let me just ask you though. I mean, the growth in the retirement accounts has been.
I know, it's so good,
and the interest rate on the credit card is 6.9%.
I know, but I can. Yeah. Let me just tell you something. How are you going to feel? How are you going to feel when the market goes down 20%? And it will. Okay, at some point. So it's not to say that ideally we want you to obviously be maxing both of these things out. And yes, over the next 20 years while you're still working, of course, you're going to earn a bunch of money in that account. But I can't get you a guaranteed 6.9% return anywhere. Guaranteed, remember, right? Because think of it this way. If I knew right now, if I went to every single private equity firm and said, oh, I will give you a risk-free 6.9% net return, they would never invest in anything else. They would say, oh, I will take that right now. And so what you're really saying to me is a guarantee of 6.9% return is not as good as a potential 14% return on a good year and a 14% minus year on a bad year. That's just crazy town. Of course, the 6.9% is the best return you're going to get without any risk. So you have money that's there. You got a couple $100,000 that's invested. Everything is great. You're on track to, keep working and put money away. But honest to God, this is one of those things that we want to nip it right now while the cash flow is good. The kid's done.
The 401ks are really aggressive. I've got 80% in index funds with very low fees and the rest in bonds. Is that too aggressive for my age?
Yeah, no. Like, how did you feel when the market fell apart in 2020?
I have been persuaded by you that I need to chill and just write it out. And at the end of the day, it'll be fine.
I mean, look, I am not an 80-20 investor. Mark is, and he's younger than both you and me. If you're okay with it, then that's fine. You do have like a 20-year time horizon. So you're saying, I am going to work for 20 years. Maybe as you start to, wind, you're just 50. So maybe in 5 years, you're like, I'm going to go 70-30. And maybe 5 years after that, you go, I'm 60-40 and now I'm going to let it ride. But if you're not bothered by it, I'm not bothered by it. I just don't love risk myself.
Okay, good. And so you feel like I'm okay, even though I don't have big numbers in my retirement account, you still think I'll be okay in 20 years to retire?
Okay, Mark ran the numbers and he said that once we see Dawn pay down the credit card debt and establish the emergency reserve fund, putting $50,000 a year away. So after you do that, for the years that you're going to be working ahead of you, that you're going to you're on track to accumulate about $2.5 million. Now, what's really nice about that is that at age 70, I think you will get Social Security, but let's say it's $4,000 a month. That $2.5 million will fund the money that you need, right? Because you need in today's dollars, you said $5,500 a month. In the future, that number is going to be adjusted for inflation. So let's just say you're going to need $7,000 a month, okay, in future dollars. Well, you'll have some money that comes from Social Security, the $4,000, and the $3,000 a month will come from the $2.5 million that you accumulate. So I think you're in good shape, but you're not going to be in good shape if you play these funny mathematical/mental gymnastics. Pay down the credit card, get the emergency reserve funded, get that line of credit just in case, and then start putting your $50,000 a year away.
I think that sounds great.
You see, it's just easy like that. Easy peasy. Dawn goes to the website, JillOnMoney.com. Dawn clicks the contact button, tells us a little bit about herself, and says, I'd love to come on the air with you. And Mark does all the rest. So I know it's the end of the year. It's hard to get money and put that front and center, but it's a very good time to kind of get your act together. And if you want some help with that process, we would like to be there for you. And we are there for you. So go to JillOnMoney.com and click the contact button. While you're there, you can check out our other two broadcasts. We've got two different podcasts. One is called Jill on Money. The other one is called Eye on Money. And all the links are right there. Your best bet, go to JillOnMoney.com, bookmark it, and you can go back to it whenever you'd like. Okay, we will be right back.
Welcome back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger takes the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we're going right out to one of your questions. We're going to Emily from North Carolina.
Yeah, so a little context on my situation. I am 30 years old. I just married my husband last May, and he's 35.
Wait a minute. You got married during the pandemic?
Yes, our wedding went from 200 people to 17.
How much money did you save? That sounds kind of fabulous.
Yeah, actually, that is our entire emergency savings right now, which is great.
Now, wait, in retrospect, are you happier having the emergency savings, or would you rather have had the big party?
Oh, I'm completely happy. There were a lot of tears leading up to that day, but it happened perfectly. And in retrospect, I would go back and do it exactly as it happened.
Ladies and gentlemen, people of non-gender specific origin, please listen to Emily and know that you don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a wedding. You, in fact, could come out of that ceremony with a big chunk of money in savings. So congratulations, and thank you for being a spokesperson for the unromantic way of getting married, which is small family, save the money. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So our first year of marriage, we spent, a good portion of our time and effort just throwing any money we had towards our debt. And so we paid off about $35,000 over the course of that year. So we are now debt free, which is
holy smokes. Congratulations. Was that debt, was it mostly student loans or other forms of debt?
Yeah, so my husband and I were both, I was on an athletic scholarship and his parents paid for his education. So we didn't have any student loans, thankfully. It was 2 car loans, a credit card bill, and then a couple medical bills.
What was your sport?
I was rowing. I rowed at Duke.
Whoa, that's serious, Mark. That is a serious, how they talk about crew. They say, oh, it's a total team sport. I'm tall and I played soccer in college. And so the crew coach kind of I spy Jill, and she comes over to me and she goes, oh, have you ever thought about rowing crew? And I said, oh yeah, those are the people who do like double and triple workouts and there's no star of the team. She goes, right, exactly. I'm like, yeah, I'm not interested. Okay. So Emily, the rower, tell me more. What else happened after you saved all this money and paid down all your debt?
Yeah, so that's why I'm coming to you. I guess a little bit more about our situation with my husband and I both work for our local state university, and I have a side hustle. So our combined gross income is about $120,000.
Awesome.
And after all bills and necessities are paid for, we adjusted our budget a little bit after we paid off our debt to have a little bit more fun, but we have about $1,500 left over each month. So we're kind of wondering, what do we do with that money?
So you both work for a state system. Does that mean that you are both paying into a pension right now?
Yes. So My husband has been working for the state for the same institution for 8 years. So he is fully vested. It's 5 years for us. Mm-hmm. And he will likely be a lifer in the state system. He loves working at our university, and I can just see him doing this forever. I, however, will likely make a career change once I'm fully vested. I don't want to leave that money on the table. And so I have 2 years left. I'm just going to stick it out, and then I'll probably do a career change.
Okay. So in addition to paying into the pension, do you also contribute to another retirement account? Probably, I guess, a 457 plan for you guys?
We do not. We both have our own Roth IRAs, though.
Okay. So you put money in the pension and then you both are maxing out your Roth IRAs at $6,000 a year?
We aren't right now. And that was kind of part of the question. My husband has his own Roth IRA. He's been contributing just $100 a month, just kind of a set it and forget it. Mm-hmm. I opened my Roth IRA after I transitioned job. I switched state institutions, but went from one state to another. And so because I wasn't vested, I had to take that money with me. And so I just threw it in a Roth IRA just to have it somewhere. But I haven't been contributing to that because I was throwing any extra cash towards the debt.
Okay. So is there anything else that is going on that needs attention? Is there, you said you've got money in your savings account. How much money do you have there?
We have about 10 grand, again, thanks to not having a wedding reception. That for us is probably about 3 months of expenses. So based on the third reading of your book, I know I need to bump that up to about 6 months. So that'll be priority number one.
Right. Although, I mean, listen, as state employees that are fairly secure, I would imagine that it's not terrible in many respects that you have a little bit light. But again, if you want to make a transition, we would like you to get a little more money in there. So you've got this $1,500 a month. You got the savings. What about where are you living? Are you renting?
So we own our side of a duplex. The other side is owned by his best friend. And so it works really well.
You plan on staying there for a while? And how much is it worth? And what's the mortgage, et cetera?
Yeah, so it's worth about $150,000, and we have $120,000 left on the mortgage. We will probably be in the house for another 3 to 5 years. We'd like to move into kind of a single family home at some point, but that will coincide more with when we plan on starting a family. And we've decided we're going to put that off for at least 3 to 5 more years.
You guys are pretty, like, you're in it. I could tell you wrote crew. There's no messing around. She's getting on that erg and she is working it. Okay. So here are my thoughts. I like the idea that you're staying at this job until you have that vesting. I think that's incredibly important. We're not saying you've got to stay in there for 18 more years, as you said, a couple of years, and then you figure it out and go forward. I think that with $1,500 a month, I would ideally like you guys to put money towards the emergency reserve fund. As you said, you probably need closer to 20 grand. So that'll be, if you put your $1,500 a month and you just kind of, even if you don't want to do a little bit at a time, if you want to do $1,000 a month into emergency reserve fund, you'll get that done pretty much, by the end of the first quarter. And then the $500 a month, it will go into a Roth IRA. When your emergency reserve fund is completely topped off, you will both max out your Roth IRAs. That's what I would do. And the only issue that you want to keep in mind is that if all of a sudden, it's working and you've got even more money, I think that you're going to likely need a little, how can I say it, a little slush fund for the next home. We'll continue with Emily's question in just a second. It's Jill on Money. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back to Emily's question. Your 3-year game plan is at the end of these 3 years, you're going to want to have that emergency reserve fund, sacrosanct, 6 months, very boring. Then you guys are going to max out your Roth IRAs. Where do you hold your Roths right now?
He is with, I think, Franklin Templeton, and I am with a company called Ellevest.
Yeah, Sally Krawcheck. She's been on the pod. Without being blunt and too pushy, like Franklin Templeton, completely not necessary. What would be great for him is just to open a Vanguard account, T. Rowe Price, Fidelity, a low-cost option. If you want to stick with Ellevest, that's fine. If you both want to be in a low-cost option, really just want to keep it simple. Just ideally, you want to have a couple of index funds, build that up, keep going, and, kind of put that on autopilot as well. I think that would be really helpful. So you get those few things done, and then saving up a little bit extra money to account for the fact that when you move, presuming this duplex does actually continue to increase in value, you're probably going to need to spend more money on a single family dwelling. So you're going to need a little extra money. And so I think that that's probably what I would suggest. I think that you're in really good shape. I mean, you're tracking the money, you're getting going, and I think you're absolutely right. It is so important that you have some fun along the way. No one wants to live under lockdown conditions for the rest of your life. I'm happy that everyone's saving. I'm happy you're saved. But you also have to be very content with just having some fun and doing your fun stuff. You don't want to be like on a constant diet. You want to be able to have a piece of cake every so often, right?
Right. Can I ask one more question?
You can ask 2 more.
So the one thing, I love calling into your show, I love your show, but I feel intimidated at times because some of these callers call in with just hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in their retirement accounts and brokerage accounts. I know I have at least 30, if not 35 years before I retire. is there any peace of mind that you can give that like, we're going to be okay?
Yes, I absolutely can. First of all, I know it can be daunting when you hear other people who are in really good financial shape. And there's like that, just a natural inclination to say, I feel less than, right? You can't help it, but you are in a fantastic situation. And what I mean by that is you're actually cognizant of financial matters, which really does put you ahead of the vast majority of people out there. Then you have now gotten this debt paid off. You have freed up the cash flow necessary to fund the things you want to do, i.e., you're funding your emergency reserve fund, you're funding your retirement. The weird thing about investing and saving is that it's just about forming habits. The hard part for someone like me, someone who used to be in the business of giving financial advice and just talking to people all the time, is that I can't force a habit. It's like saying, you go to the gym the first time. You're an athlete, right? People look at you and say, I'm never going to be like her. What's the first thing they're going to say? They're going to say, oh, look at that Emily, man. She is such great shape. She is so strong. I'm never going to do that. And so the inclination is when I see someone like you, running out in the neighborhood or, in the gym, is that I don't want to feel that left behind. So I'm going to do nothing. That's a very normal reaction. So I'm never going to be that. So I can't do it. But what I think your perspective might be, and I'll ask you that if you were giving someone advice about how do you get in shape, how do you do this, what would you tell me? What would the first step be?
You got to start. You got to start somewhere.
And you've got to stick to it.
Mm-hmm.
Part of financial planning success stories are all about starting and sticking to it. So what I want you to hear from me, this is your Aunt Jill talking, that you have already started. You are sticking to it. You are actually putting yourself in the category of people that I'm going to hear from 20 years from now who are going to come on the air and say, look, I didn't start with much. I worked for a state system and we paid in and we did what we were supposed to do. And little by little, we have, 17 kids. We got them through college and life is good. So I think that it's daunting when you hear someone who has millions of dollars. Listen, when I heard the guy on my other show who said, oh, I bought crypto and I now have $4 million in the bank, I was like, oh my God, why didn't I do that? So you feel like a jerk for not having done that. And I'm going to flip it around and say to you, you are not a jerk. You are in great shape. You're doing what you should be doing. You've started. And now we just want to make this stick. We want you to now keep moving forward. Again, you don't have to live like a monk. You guys can have some fun and know that you're going to get there because you've done this. I actually think that this 1 year, it would be as if you said to me, like, let's just do little chunks. Let's like start by going one step at a time. And maybe the first step for you was, oh my God, I'm so upset we didn't have a wedding. And then it was like, well, we have the money in the bank. Now what? And you did little chunks. And I think if we can break this down into little chunks, fantastic. Your next little chunk is, I want 20 grand in my emergency reserve fund. And then your next chunk is, I want to max out my retirement account. And then all of a sudden it's going to be, you're in a new job and you might have other choices and we'll figure out what those next steps are. But we're creating a plan that's flexible enough to grow with you, but the discipline that's necessary, the habit that you're forming, that's the key part of the process. And you're already there. So congratulations, you're already there. All right, if you've got a financial question, hop on to JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And boy, it's so much fun to talk to you guys on the air. I really do appreciate it. If you would like to join us from the Capital One Bank virtual studios, all you need to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the contact button and say, I want to come on the air. And there, poof, you'll be right there with us. Capital One, this is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? I think we got time for one quick email before we go. It's from Peter. Peter says, I have a friend that doesn't believe in retirement accounts. She's 30 years old, and she and her husband just put money into savings, but that's it. She won't receive a pension and thinks she'll be okay with her savings and doesn't take my recommendation to even just start small. It's not about fear, but more about denial of the necessity to do something. What can I do to ensure she is taking care of herself financially? I don't know. I feel like people like this are not really, they're just not, they know what they need to do. They're not willing to go there because of something else going on. I'd have to really talk to her directly. I'd be delighted to do that, and I would be happy to offer that if you want to have her come chat with us, or maybe just shoot an email, or if you want me to perhaps encourage her to maybe just have a little offline conversation, not even on the air, I'd be happy to do that. But maybe she just doesn't want it. And in which case you're a good friend. But unfortunately, I don't think there's much more to do. Ugh, I know. It's a drag. But there are people like that. Sort of like telling someone who smokes, you should stop smoking. They know what they should do. And I bet she knows what she should do. Okay, get psyched. When we come back, a special guest, Adam Tooze. He is an economic historian, super smart. He wrote a book about the shutdown and COVID and what happened, and it's very interesting to talk to him, and he has got one of those great accents. Okay, Jill on Money. We'll be right back.